should you buy the new iPhone SE? Hopefully this teardown and unbox video will help you make the right decision. So let's get right into it. The packaging is nearly identical to the iPhone 6 through the iPhone 8. First thing included are instructions, the stickers, and the SIM card tool. At first glance, the phone seems to be the same size as the previous models, except with a solid white back instead of silver. I think a solid white front would be really neat to see, but unfortunately they went with solid black. Also included in the box are the Lightning headphones and the charger. Looking around the outside of the phone, we see the 2 volume buttons and the mute switch. There doesn't seem to be a change in the size or location of the buttons, with the exception of the larger 12 megapixel camera. I will say the camera quality is exceptional, with photo quality comparable to the XR. The charging port uses Apple Lightning cables, and it's too bad they didn't go with a USB-C. There's nothing new on the right side. It still has the same SIM tray and power button. Since the phone hasn't changed much, I was curious to see if the same accessories would fit this new iPhone. So at the end of this video, I'll put it on a case and see if it fits. But first, I'm going to see if these screen protectors from the iPhone 6 to 8 will fit the iPhone SE as well. These are JTech brand I got from Amazon, and I highly recommend putting on glass screen protectors as the first thing to do when getting a new phone. A trick I learned is to line up the earpiece first and push everything else down. After helping it seal, I noticed there's an air bubble gap along the outside edge. It looks like there's a slight curve to the glass causing the air bubbles. If anyone else has experienced this or has a fix, comment below. Now, as we've just seen, there's been very little changes made to the iPhone SE from the previous models. The camera's much better, but everything else, including the weight, feels nearly identical. Using the same frame as previous generations is likely why Apple charges less for essentially a mini iPhone 11. Since we've looked at the outside, let's now tear it down and take a look at the inside. Today I'm going to use my favorite toolkit from Bonafide Hardware. I'll also be using a separate guitar pick pry tool. When opening your phone, the first thing you want to do is power it off, then take out the SIM card. Next, using a star-bit screwdriver, take out the 2 bottom screws. Then use a heat gun or a hair dryer to go around the outside edge to help the glue separate. Now the phone can be very hot, so don't try to lick it. Next, take a pry tool and gently go around the outside to help the glass separate from the frame. I found using 2 separate pry tools at the same time helps hold it open. You don't want to open it from the bottom like this, as there's a display ribbon cable near the SIM card tray. To avoid tearing the ribbon cable, use a pry tool and go around the top side until you're able to open the screen like you're reading a book. Don't pull it too far back, as there's a second ribbon cable on the top near the camera. With that open, we can see that there's a metal plate covering the screen display ribbon cable. We need to remove this plate as well as one above to take out the 2 ribbon cables. With the plate removed, I use a pry tool to detach the cables. These feed various features to the motherboard as well as power from the battery. With the battery detached, I can now take off the other display cable. There are 3 screws that need to be removed to take out the top plate. This plate acts as a covering for the camera sensor connections. Underneath the plate is a single ribbon cable connection to the front-facing camera. Although the SE has nearly the same power as the iPhone 11, the SE doesn't use the front facial recognition, so the front-facing camera sensors are different. Again, the top cable is the front-facing camera, and these 2 are for the screen display. Looking at the internals, I was very surprised to see how similar the iPhone SE is to the iPhone 8. You can check out my other videos where I'll test the differences between the 2. Tearing it open, we learned a few things about the hardware. There's no Face ID cameras, so you have to use the thumbprint touch reader. The internal design is nearly identical to the iPhone 8. It uses an 1830 mAh battery, and there is an Apple A13 Bionic chipset, which is great as it's the same chip used in the iPhone 11. So to sum it up, the iPhone SE is like an iPhone 11 stuck in the body of an iPhone 8, which means no Face ID. This is a perfect alternative for someone that doesn't want the larger phone or spend the extra money for the new features. Including the A13 chipset will help keep the iPhone SE relevant on a performance level for several years. It would be nice to have a bigger battery and better screen resolution. However, another great benefit of this phone is the 12 megapixel camera. However, the alternative to that is that the camera lens doesn't sit flush and pokes out. This makes it more susceptible to scratch if pressure is applied to it. To help the lens from scratching, we're going to put on this OtterBox Commuter Series case. However, this case is made for the iPhone 7 and 8, so we're also going to test if it fits the iPhone SE. I chose to test with the OtterBox as it's one of the most protective and popular brands. With the camera lens being so large, most cases made for the 6S likely won't fit. However, this case was made for the iPhone 7 and 8, and it seemed to fit just fine. The buttons lined up and were easy to press. The charging port is also in the same place, so this fits just fine. This is only one example, but most older generation iPhone cases should still fit the iPhone SE. However, with such a large camera, some iPhone 6S cases may not fit. In summary, there's definite pluses and minuses to the iPhone SE, and I hope this video helped you make a better decision. Thanks for watching and have a great day.